We are going to begin with the final sprint to the White House, which tonight runs straight through Pennsylvania. With just 8 days until the election and with the coronavirus pandemic worsening nationwide, President Trump and Joe Biden arrived in the Keystone State today, trying to win over voters in a state both candidates believe holds the key to the Oval Office. But with new cases of coronavirus now at their highest since the crisis began and with hospitals across the country again overflowing with patients, tonight the pandemic is once again center stage on the campaign trail. In a surprise visit to a voter center, Joe Biden pointed to the surge of infections, saying President Trump is the worst person to manage the nation's response to the virus. For his part, President Trump downplayed the crisis, holding 3 large rallies and saying no one would be talking about COVID after the election, even as his own White House is dealing with the second outbreak of it. Tonight, 5 of the vice president's aides have been infected. That's not stopping the vice president from campaigning in Minnesota after testing negative. And the White House says it won't stop a large swearing-in ceremony that's going to be held tonight on the South Lawn for Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett, who is expected to be confirmed by the Senate in the coming hours. So you can see there's a lot of new reporting to get to tonight. We've got our team of correspondents standing by to cover it all. CBS's Paula Reid is going to lead off our coverage tonight from the White House. Good evening, Paula.
Good evening, Nora. President Trump today barnstormed across must-win Pennsylvania, making multiple stops, while former Vice President Joe Biden held just one event. Asked to defend his light travel schedule so close to the election, Biden said he is working at least 12 hours a day to win the White House. President Trump told Pennsylvania voters today his future was in their hands.
By the way, we win Pennsylvania, we win the whole thing. You got to get out there.
Down by 7 points in the latest CBS News Battleground Tracker poll, President Trump blanketed the Keystone State with 3 separate stops. His goal? Turn out longtime Republicans and overcome Joe Biden's gains in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
We're all trying to fight to get back, and I know Trump can get us back to where we should be.
Not to be outdone, Biden too showed up in Pennsylvania, calling attention to Chief of Staff Mark Meadows' admission this weekend that the administration would not get control of the virus.
We're not going to control the pandemic. We are going to control the fact that we get vaccines, therapeutics.
And he said, we're not going to control it. Not going to control it. The bottom line is Donald Trump is the worst possible president, the worst possible person to try to lead us through this pandemic.
With another COVID outbreak inside the White House, the vice president's top aide, Mark Short, tested positive along with 4 others in Pence's circle. President Trump still told supporters in Allentown the pandemic was nearing its end.
And we're rounding the turn. You know, all they want to talk about is COVID.
But the U.S. saw a record number of infections nationwide in recent days.
You know, Mr. President, you have to have a little bit of shame, just a little bit of shame, because people are dying.
Vice President Pence campaigned in Minnesota today despite his recent exposure.
It is great to be back in the North Star states.
But health experts disputed the official justification from the White House that Mr. Pence's campaign work was essential and in accordance with CDC guidelines.
I don't think any of us think campaigning, as important as it is critical infrastructure for our country. He should really be in quarantine.
Health officials have already connected at least 23 COVID cases in Minnesota to events put on by the Trump campaign. They've also connected at least 1 case to events put on by the Biden campaign. Nora.
Paula Reid, thank you.